when it comes to the country of China, not only today, everyone is fascinated regarding the Chinese political change and also this unstoppable economic track. But meanwhile, let's talk about what drives the Chinese economy forward. It's not just about the leadership, it's all about what we call this collective effort. But meanwhile, comparatively speaking, we're looking at another country, which is the United States of America. Besides political polarization, everyone is saying modern political changes are going to or continue to influence the social agenda. How about the former leaders of the country, not just about the US and not just about China? Let's bring another country into our conversation today, which is Pakistan. If you follow the news closely, then you should be familiar with the former Pakistani Prime Minister, which is Imran Khan. Well, word on the street that this Prime Minister, well, the former Prime Minister, is gearing up for a greater comeback in order to save the country. And of course, this time, is he going to be successful, or are the voters ready for the return, for the bigger picture and also the economic stability of the country? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to invite our good old friend and again amazing speaker and expert, which is Dr. Shoaib Kahut. Dr. Kahut is a PhD scholar from Shandong University in China. His research interests including Belt and Road Initiative and energy economics, and he has carried out extensive research on Chinese investment across the globe and also regarding the Belt and Road Initiative. Well, Dr. Kahut, and welcome back to The Missing Piece.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure of being on your show, Mr. Will.
Well, Dr. Kahut, again, as we mentioned before, we look at today, most of the countries, politically speaking and also economically speaking, are standing at the crossroads. But I want to talk about the significant figure, and I think many times that during the previous episodes, you and I will share this many times regarding Imran Khan. Now, last time when we had the conversation, Imran Khan, he was ousted in April by no confidence vote and because the military decision. Now, I want to go back to the article and read something to you. Now, several months later, based on the current research, people believe that Imran Khan can communicate with all strata of society on their levels. Now, help us to understand what is the ambition for Imran Khan right now and why is it important for him to come back in order to save the country?
Well, Mr. Will, talking about Pakistan, Pakistan is a parliamentary democracy. And last year, as you mentioned, in the month of April, in fact, this year we just had the first, you can say, anniversary of the VONC, which is vote of no confidence against then Prime Minister Imran Khan. So that vote of no confidence was, brought by the parliament itself. In fact, the lower house of parliament, which is called the National Assembly of Pakistan. So Pakistan parliament is actually bicameral. We have the upper house and then we have the lower house. So the lower house of the parliament, which actually elects the leader of the house, which is the Prime Minister of Pakistan. So they brought the vote of no confidence, and by virtue of that VONC, the Prime Minister was declared, not able to have that position. So talking about this background, because Imran Khan is, his political party is quite newer as compared to the other two main political parties, which are the Pakistan Muslim League and the Pakistan People's Party. So his party, which is Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or the Movement for Justice, Pakistan Movement for Justice. So his party is comparatively newer. It is just 26 or 27 years old. So, people now think, and, a large spectrum of the society, they think that Imran Khan is a newer face and he should be given more chances to lead the country. This is the first factor. The second factor is the political slogan which Imran Khan is carrying is about that his number one motto is that he wants to root out the corruption. As you know, just like other developing country or the third world country, if you may allow me to use this term, Pakistan has this problem or the plague of or the menace of corruption, where billions of dollars, they have been siphoned out of the country every year, and now the Pakistani economy is at the verge of bankruptcy. So Imran Khan's number one political slogan is that the main solution to take the country forward is by controlling the corruption and bring the corrupt elite to justice. So all of his, number one, youth, then his appeal to the against the corruption. I think these two slogans. This is something which actually resonates with the majority of the Pakistani population. So again, just to remind your audience, we have mentioned this point again and again on this show that 65% of Pakistani population is below 30 years of age. So the country is having the huge youth bulge. So naturally, as per the Gallup survey, about more than 70% of the Pakistani youth, they have been tilted towards Imran Khan's party. So that's why today he's the most populous leader of Pakistan. And although he's in opposition, but he decided not to stay in the parliament. So he decided first to, tender the resignation in mass, first from the National Assembly, which is the national parliament, and then from the Punjab Assembly, which is the biggest parliament, biggest province parliament, and then from the KPK Assembly, which is the other province, which is also the biggest, so he was also ruling in that province. So at this time, as we are speaking, Imran Khan is on the roads. He is, on the protest. His party is on the protest. His party is out of the parliaments, out of the provincial assemblies, and he is demanding just one thing: the early elections. So that's the situation now.
Dr. Kahut, again, when we talk about any political figures, regardless the effort or the milestone that they achieved before, and also, I guess we could say the ambitions and the drive they're going to present during the campaign season. But one thing that everyone is looking for, particularly in Pakistan, as you mentioned before, is the economic stability. Again, based on the research, this country is facing today the issue of inflation. And based on the research, and it says, and I quote, inflation soared in March to 47% year over year, and the prices of staples such as onions rose by 228%, wheat by 120%, and cooking gas by 108%. So in other words, you're right. If the person continues seeks a presidential or any official within the governments, one thing that people concern the most is the economic stability. So again, Dr. Kahut, help us to understand, how did we get here today? So in other words, what happened in this country that we're facing this crisis related to inflation? And number two, why do you think that Imran Khan can use his strategy or can use the better way to solve this issue, or maybe at least minimize the threat of inflation? What do you say to that?
First of all, inflation is in Pakistan is not a new phenomena, but this time it is the unprecedented rate of inflation, which is the cause of worry for the people, across the region. The food inflation, as you mentioned, the prices of the food commodities, the food inflation is, for the first time in the history of Pakistan, is more than 50%. So, this is something which is very alarming. Even the staple food, that has also, been very expensive. So so this time the government is providing free flour, which is the staple food for more than 90% of the Pakistanis. So the situation is very harsh. So this never happened in only one day. Actually, the economic fall down, actually, it started for more than 5 years before. So then because, in Pakistan, if you have read the history, the political turmoil in Pakistan, it always become first, and then it is being followed by the economic debacle or the economic uncertainty. So both of these things, the political instability and the economic chaos, these two factors which are being hampering the Pakistani economic growth all over the time. So in 2016, then Prime Minister Mr. Nawaz Sharif, he was being disqualified by the court on the corruption charges, thanks to the Panama Papers, the notorious Panama Papers. So at that time, that system of governance was wrapped up, and he was ousted from the courts. And then 2 years. So this debacle actually it started at that time. The economic debacle or the economic instability, it actually started in 2016. And now we are sitting in 2023. The economic instability is at its peak. The Pakistani Minister of Defense has stated, his speech is on the record, that practically Pakistani economy have been bankrupted. Imran Khan government, during the Imran Khan government, for the first time, these inflation rates, they reached at the point, which were very abnormal for the common Pakistanis, like the commodities, just like they take the examples of the commodity oil, the edible oil. So the prices of edible oil, they increased more than 300%, during the Imran Khan era. So the governance issues during the Imran Khan era, they were something which actually plagued the economic growth of Pakistan. And today, as we speak, we have the government, but Imran Khan is on the road. He's leading the pack of opposition. And but side by side, we have seen that the prices of commodity, the inflation prices, they are out of the reach. First time the middle class of Pakistan is shrinking. So as per the economic theory, it is the middle class of any economy which actually takes the economic growth rate of that economy forward. But for the first time in the history of Pakistan, the research has proved that that middle class of Pakistan is shrinking, and more households have been moving below the poverty line. So this is the cause of a concern and worry for the researchers like me and for the people who are sitting outside Pakistan, because this is a country of 224 million people, and God forbid if something happened just like Sri Lanka, because in Sri Lanka the economic instability caused one thing which were out of control, that was inflation. And inflation, the worst form of the inflation is in the food inflation, because every human being doesn't own a car, every human being doesn't need a petrol, but every human being needs some food to survive. So if the prices of food are out of range, then practically that country is near to bankruptcy, and that's what's happening with Pakistan.
That's right, Dr. Kahut. I agree with you 100%. You're right. Not everyone needs a car, and not everyone needs one luxurious lifestyle, but everyone needs food in order to survive. Of course, that previously you and I, we also discussed the political and also the social situation of Sri Lanka, which is rather devastating. Now, again, let's go back to Imran Khan. I want to read something to you, and which is quite interesting. I want to get your reaction on this. When we talk about Imran Khan, and again, among the citizens, some can describe that Imran Khan, and I quote, is the best bet that we have right now. If he's arrested or disqualified, people will come out onto the street, and end quote. Now, Dr. Kahut, again, when we talk about such a significant political figure, number one, it seems very promising that citizens or the people who support Imran Khan can really see his ambition, can understand his best interest in the country. But meanwhile, we have to dig a little deeper regarding this person's personality, his charisma. Now, again, I want to continue with the research. Is Imran Khan? He actually studied politics, philosophy, and economics at Oxford University. So that's why I want to ask you, Dr. Kahut, what are the key elements that really shape this person to be who he is today? And why do you think that citizens have such bigger ambition and hope in this person? What do you say to that?
Yeah, because, Pakistan is the system of governance in Pakistan has largely been, managed by three forces. Number one, military. So in total, Pakistan have faced, you can say, 4 martial laws. So in total, around 35 years. So Pakistan is a comparatively younger country, just 75 years old. So from those 75 years, 35 years of its age have been governed by the military, straightforwardly, right? The rest of the 40 years or so, they have been managed, you can say, more than 30 years by only 2 political parties, Pakistan Muslim League and Pakistan People's Party. It was the first term of Imran Khan's party, and the way he was declared unfit for being the prime minister through the vote of no confidence. So again, this vote of no confidence was again for the first time in the history of Pakistan. So many things, so many factors which actually proved in favor of Imran Khan. So again, he was international hero, international figure before he came even into the politics, because he was the sportsman. If you don't know, for your listeners, cricket is a widely favored sport, widely watched sports in the world after basketball and football. So Imran Khan won the World Cup of cricket for Pakistan in 1992. So he was the captain of the Pakistan national team. So he was the hero, he was he had the charisma, he had the, as you mentioned, he studied at the University of Oxford. By the way, the current foreign minister of Pakistan, he also studied the same subjects at University of Oxford. The previous prime minister of Pakistan, Mrs. Benazir Bhutto, who was assassinated in 2007, she also studied the same subject at Oxford. So Pakistan politics, this Oxford factor isn't new for the Pakistani politics, at least. So Imran Khan is actually now, he knows that how to capitalize the existence grievances of a common man in Pakistan. For example, right now, as we speak, the common man in Pakistan, he feels so perturbed, so, disturbed that just 2 political parties, they have governed for more than 30 years on this country single-handedly, but still the country hasn't faced the basic problems of hunger, malnutrition, illiteracy, corruption, bad governance. So a common Pakistani wants to give a third power, which is Imran Khan's party, a fair chance. So this was his first chance. So his government, his party made the 2/3 government in 2018 general elections, and 18, 19, 21, 22. So in the 4th year of his government, his party was, so his prime ministership was declared unfit because he was ousted through the vote of no confidence. So that's why the common man is more agitated, because again, now in the government are the 13 parties combined. So that is called PDM, Pakistan Democratic Movement. So on one side, there is only Imran Khan's political party with 61% of approval rating as per the Gallup's recent survey. On the other hand, is the government. The prime minister is from 13. He's the elected member of the 13 political parties, and they collectively got 36% of the approval rating. This is the popularity of Imran Khan. That alone, his political party got 61%. On the other side, the 13 political party jointly, they got 36% of the approval rating. So this is the situation. This is unprecedented. Last time it happened, the political leader was Mr. Zulfikar Bhutto, and he was the best friend of China, by the way. And but unfortunately, he was also uh, hanged by the Pakistan Supreme Court. So the Pakistan political history is very checkered. It's unfortunately it's full of some bad decisions, some bad events. So the first elected Prime Minister of Pakistan, as I mentioned, he was the most popular, just like Imran Khan, or maybe more popular than the Imran Khan at his time in 1970s. He was hanged. Another popular leader, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who was the daughter of that hanged Prime Minister, Mrs. Benazir Bhutto, she was assassinated in a public rally in 2007. One of the president of Pakistan, he was a military dictator. His name was Ziaul Haq. He was assassinated. So, in the Pakistan's political history, as I said earlier, is very checkered. It's very tricky. No one knows what happened next. So, unfortunately, these things give rise to the popularity of the leaders like Imran Khan, who have challenged the role of the establishment, the role of status quo. So these are all factors which actually contributed in his popularity.
Dr. Kahut, again, when we look at Imran Khan, not only that everyone is paying attention to this domestic change, but meanwhile, let's talk about the foreign policy, or let's talk about the international relationship. Again, based on the research, in 2018, former U.S. President Donald Trump ended the $300 million security assistance that the U.S. provided to Pakistan annually. We know, again, as I mentioned in the intro, political polarization is taking place in the U.S. It's no longer the age of Donald Trump. It is even no longer the age of Joe Biden. Of course, we don't know what the future for the U.S. at this moment. But now, coming back to you, if Imran Khan were to be re-elected as the brand new prime minister, how do you think that he's going to reshape his foreign policy with the country of China, with the country of US, or even with the country of Russia? Those are some of the most significant but also sensitive names on the list today. What do you say to that, Dr. Kahut?
So when we see the US policy, the US policy or the Pentagon's policy or the State Department's policy, it is never being very specific for one country. It is always focused on the region, as we all know. So the President Trump's policy was very clear. First of all, he decided to take out the forces from Afghanistan, and then at the same time, because the U.S. Was paying a lot of money to Pakistan every year under the CSF, Coalition Support Fund, at that time. So when President Trump decided to pull out his forces from Afghanistan, at the same time, they decided to cut off the major chunk of the military and the non-military aid to Pakistan as well, right? So that was linked with Afghanistan, So when the government of Imran Khan came, at that time, the President Trump was there in the U.S. So many global publications, they said that the Imran Khan is the Donald Trump of Asia, right? Because Imran Khan was also against the military solution of the Afghanistan issue, which was a good thing, right? All the analysts, they hailed that approach by the President Trump and Imran Khan, because both were against war in Afghanistan, right? So when the Imran Khan government, it became more and more forward, very interesting thing happened. The rate of the completion of Chinese investment projects in Pakistan, that rate was declined. For the first time in the history of Pakistan-China relationships, the Pakistani government in the leadership of Imran Khan, they posed some allegations of corruption in the Chinese projects in Pakistan. So at that part of time, we witnessed some slower rate of growth of Chinese investments in Pakistan. So many analysts in the Pakistan, they said that during Imran Khan government, Pakistan was more pro-US and less pro-China. We saw this in the international relations, right? And now this government by the Pakistan Democratic Movement, the PDM, as I mentioned earlier, the 13 parties coalition government. This government is considered more and more pro-China, but at the same time, they are also pro-US. You know, the country like Pakistan, who are being heavily dependent on the multilateral donor agencies like the International Monetary Fund, IMF, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank. These countries can't afford to take one side. You know, these countries have to have, because Pakistan's dependence on foreign aid is a very, very interesting story. I always say that, because at the same time, Pakistan is the #1 debtor of China. You know, the most number of Chinese investment projects out of the Belt and Road Initiative, they are in Pakistan. You know, more than $62 billion US. You know, among all 151 Belt and Road countries as we speak, Pakistan is the #1 borrower of Chinese money. At the same time, Pakistan is going to sign the 23rd agreement with the International Monetary Fund. So look how heavily dependent this country are. And at the same time, Pakistan's dependence on the Saudi's oil, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So every year they provide, you know, oil worth of billions of dollars to Pakistan on deferred payment. Very recently, China helped Pakistan by rolling over its debt. So what are these numbering? What are these numbers tells us? It tells us that Pakistan can't afford to break its ties or to mend its ties with China, the US, the Saudis, the Middle Eastern powers. It is a country which have to have the which you call the non-aligned position in all of the global issues. So that's what Pakistan is doing. That's what Pakistan establishment is doing. And by the way, everyone knows that in Pakistan, at the end of the day, although Pakistan is a parliamentary democracy, but at the end of the day, the most powerful institution in Pakistan is the military. As I told you earlier, that out of 75 years of the governance, the 35 years in the Pakistan history was governed single-handedly by the Pakistani military in the form of martial law or the others. So this is a very interesting thing. And let's see how the future events are unfold.
Well, again, Dr. Kahut, that's why it's so fascinating, or it's always fascinating to have such a scholar like you to join the show and help us to understand not just about this political change or this political transformation within Pakistan, but also related to Pakistan's relationship with China, with Saudi Arabia, of course, mainly around the world. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great honor to invite Dr. Kahut. Again, Dr. Kahut is a PhD scholar from Shandong University in China, and his research interests include Belt and Road Initiative and energy economics. Again, he regularly writes for international papers and journals. I strongly encourage everyone go on social media to connect with Dr. Kahut, and you're able to catch the latest publications from the scholar. Well, Dr. Kahut, thank you so much for taking your time to join the show. It's been a pleasure, and we love to have you as we continue to follow Imran Khan's progress. And hopefully next time when we have the conversation, we're able to see much greater results and fruits for this person. So thank you so much for doing this.